people that you are an introvert? Is that a surprise to people?
People see me as a highly socialized introvert, but they don't realize that when I do something like this or when I get on stage and give a talk, that I'll be cooked for a couple of hours.
Remote work impacted the quality of the work of your team.
Yeah, for the positive. If you just talk about the quality of the creative output, I think it's much better for my team. I think it's much better for creative people in general. And if you're just constantly running in this in-face reactionary mode, it's impossible to get past what I call first order thinking. Open floor plans with designers gives PMs tremendous power because they're able to do drive-bys on the designers, interrupt them, and cajole them into doing what they think should be done, which in my experience is almost never the thing that actually should be done, with all due respect to my PM friends, none of whom interview with a portfolio, I will point out.
What's your view on remote work and how has it impacted your team?
The impact of the pandemic and having to work remotely just been transformational for me personally. I don't think I would have survived in this job as long as I have if I'd had to continue going into the office. Our team's spread out in multiple locations in India, multiple places in North America. There is no way for us to get together. And even if people started going to the office, there's not a critical mass of their cross-functional partners for it to make a difference. So we have quite a few younger people on the team. I think they desperately miss the social piece. I do feel for them a lot because they are definitely missing out. And so it's highly, highly interruptive. And I don't have the time to digest anything during the day when I'm in an office environment. You know, it got to the point where I had people following me into the bathroom and stuff. Oh, you want to go back to the office so the tallest white guy in the room could control the whiteboard? And I hate to just sort of be that direct about it, but I think that is pretty much the reality. I think the whiteboarding environment has become profoundly egalitarian because anybody can just go in and start making marks.
Other ways of communicating that have made you and your teams much more effective?
Well, we think about, so for one, we treat meetings as one tool, right? We have this whole hierarchy of tools. So we have Figma, we have Slack, we have Loom, where you do a lot of videos now, types of ways of interacting. And one of those is a meeting, and it is a peer to all those other things. Introverts, again, I'll speak for myself, you know, it's hard for me to spontaneously respond the way I want to. And so I'll end up kind of playing the conversation back later. I don't feel that what I meant to say is often the first thing that came out of my mouth in the moment. One thing is like, never show work you don't believe in, because you don't want to pick on that. You know, if you're a designer, by definition, you're the one that's creating the thing that your cross-functional partners are looking at, right? They can't evaluate a comp that you don't come up with. And so simply by owning the rough draft or the draft that comes into the meeting, you've already won like 95% of the conversation. For the inner critic, the thing I tell people here is that all of us have an inner editor who's telling us that idea is not good. And that editor is sitting there all the time. But I ended up giving them all names. And so the voice that tells me all the stuff I need to do, her name's Julie. And then I have Steve and Carl, you know, and this is going to go horrible. You suck. What are you doing out here? Blah, blah, blah. But if you address yourself by name, you know, you're sort of saying, oh, you know, actually people always like Bob's presentation. I bet Bob's going to do fine at this. Bob always crushes these things. Bob's going to kill this thing. You know, that there's a part of your brain that will open up and hear that in a different way. Think about publishing as a modern way of networking. Because as you and I have learned, when you start putting stuff out in the world, other people will see it and it will track them to you. Most of the things that I post are questions, you know, or random thoughts. And that has brought a lot of people into my life. It's just been a wonderful way to bring like-minded people to me. My thoughts are not who I am, and that there's a lot of crap that goes through my brain that is not me as a person. That's freed me up a lot because you don't have these fears of like, oh, I'm just, you know, I'm so messed up inside, or I can't make any decisions. Or it's important to distinguish between imposter syndrome and a lack of self-confidence. That's just because I don't know how it's going to turn out, but nobody knows how it's going to turn out. Everybody's just making it up. Nobody really knows. Once you give up on the idea that there is certainty in the answer, I think that can maybe help you a lot with the self-confidence issue.